There is a fantasy most people hold in secret, that one day, if they just grow strong enough, wise enough, healed enough, emotional pain will stop touching them. That they will reach a place where loss doesn't ache, where rejection doesn't sting, where disappointment doesn't wound. This fantasy feels like hope, like a destination worth striving for. But it is built on a misunderstanding so fundamental that it shapes years of futile effort and deepens the very suffering it seeks to escape. The secret is not what you think. It is not about building walls high enough that nothing can reach you. It is not about numbing yourself until feeling becomes impossible. It is something far more subtle, far more paradoxical. The recognition that immunity to emotional pain is neither possible nor desirable. And that true freedom lies not in avoiding pain, but in transforming your relationship with it entirely. There is a moment, usually after profound hurt, when you make a silent vow. Never again. Never again will you let someone close enough to wound you. Never again will you care so much that loss becomes unbearable. Never again will you be this vulnerable, this exposed, this devastatingly human. The fantasy of emotional invulnerability is born in these moments of acute suffering. It promises safety, control, an end to the exhausting cycle of opening and being wounded. You watch people who seem untouched by rejection, unmoved by loss, and you wonder what they know that you don't. You imagine that strength looks like imperviousness, that healing means no longer feeling, that growth leads to a place where emotional pain can't reach you. This belief feels protective. It feels like self-preservation. But it is actually a trap disguised as wisdom, a misunderstanding of what strength actually is and what it actually costs to become the kind of person who doesn't hurt anymore. The first time emotional pain became unbearable, something in you decided to protect against it ever happening again. Maybe it was a parent's absence, a friend's betrayal, a love that ended without explanation. The specific wound matters less than the conclusion drawn from it. That feeling deeply is dangerous. That vulnerability is weakness. That caring is a liability. And so, the armor begins. Layer by layer, year by year, you build defenses. You stop saying what you really feel. You keep people at a safe distance. You practice detachment. Tell yourself you don't need anyone. Convince yourself that independence is the same as strength. The armor works, in a way. It does protect you from certain kinds of pain, but it also separates you from everything else. From intimacy, from joy, from the aliveness that comes from being genuinely connected to another human being. What started as protection becomes isolation. The walls built to keep pain out also keep love out, keep life out, keep you out. Emotional pain is not a design flaw. It is a feature of being human, wired into your nervous system for essential reasons. The same brain regions that process physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex, the insula, activate during social rejection, loss, and heartbreak. This is not metaphor. Your brain treats emotional wounds with the same urgency as physical injuries because, for most of human history, social connection meant survival. To be rejected from the group was to face death. To lose protective relationships was to become vulnerable to threats. Pain is the alarm system that alerts you to damage in your most important survival mechanism, your bonds with others. This system cannot be selectively disabled. The capacity to feel emotional pain is neurologically inseparable from the capacity to feel love, connection, meaning, purpose. You cannot numb one without numbing the other. The brain structures that allow you to care deeply are the same structures that allow you to hurt deeply. There is no surgical removal of suffering that leaves joy intact. In the effort to avoid pain, many people accidentally extinguish everything else. They stop letting themselves hope because hope leads to disappointment. They stop loving fully because love leads to loss. They stop caring about outcomes because caring leads to suffering when things don't work out. This gradual withdrawal from feeling seems rational, seems protective. But what it actually creates is a different kind of suffering, quieter, more insidious, harder to name. It's the suffering of going through life at a distance from your own experience, of watching yourself live instead of actually living, of being safe but never truly alive. The irony is that this numbness doesn't even eliminate pain. It just makes it chronic instead of acute. The sharp, intense pain of heartbreak eventually fades, but the dull, persistent ache of disconnection from yourself, from others, from the fullness of human experience, that doesn't fade. It becomes the background hum of existence. You're not being hurt anymore, but you're also not feeling much of anything. And that absence of feeling is its own form of death. The revelation comes quietly. You've been asking the wrong question. The question is not how to stop emotional pain from touching you. The question is how to develop the capacity to feel it fully, without being destroyed by it. This is a completely different orientation. It's not about building thicker armor. It's about building greater internal spaciousness, the ability to hold pain without collapsing, to feel grief without becoming grief, to experience heartbreak without identifying as broken. This shift requires abandoning the fantasy of invulnerability and embracing something more honest and more difficult. Vulnerability as a permanent condition of being human. Pain as an inevitable companion of caring. Loss as the price of love. The goal becomes not immunity, but resilience. Not the absence of feeling, but the capacity to feel everything and still choose openness, still choose connection, still choose to remain tender in a world that will absolutely, certainly, repeatedly wound you. This sounds like defeat until you realize it's the only path to genuine freedom. Pain itself is not the problem. Resistance to pain is the problem. When emotional pain arises and you fight it, try to push it away, suppress it, distract from it, analyze it into submission, you create a second layer of suffering. The pain itself is acute and temporary. The resistance to it is what makes it chronic. This is the difference between clean pain and dirty pain, between suffering that moves through you and suffering that gets stuck inside you. Clean pain is the natural response to loss, rejection, disappointment. It rises, it peaks, it gradually subsides. Dirty pain is what happens when you layer resistance, self-judgment, and avoidance on top of the original hurt. You're not just feeling the grief, you're also fighting the grief, judging yourself for feeling it, creating stories about what it means about you. The practice is simple but not easy. When pain arises, turn toward it instead of away. Feel it in your body. Notice where it lives: chest, throat, stomach. Breathe into it. Let it be exactly as intense as it is without trying to diminish or amplify it. This doesn't make the pain disappear, but it changes your relationship with it. It becomes something you're experiencing rather than something you are. What remains after you've abandoned the fantasy of emotional immunity is not what you feared. You thought it would be constant vulnerability, endless pain, a life of being perpetually wounded. But it's something different, something stronger. It's a heart that has learned it can break and heal, over and over, without losing its fundamental capacity to love. It's the recognition that emotional pain is not damage. It's information. It tells you what matters, what you value, where you're still capable of caring deeply despite everything. The people who seem genuinely free are not those who have become immune to pain. They are those who have made peace with its inevitability, who know they will be hurt again and choose connection anyway, who understand that the cost of loving is loss and decide the cost is worth it. This is the secret, not immunity, but willingness, not protection, but presence, not the elimination of pain, but the expansion of your capacity to hold it without hardening, to feel it without drowning, to be tender without being fragile. And that knowing that you can survive what you once thought would destroy you changes everything.